think on your chairs you've got this market appraisal report, which is the format of valuation that we do for every single one of our corporate clients. Every time we get a listing to look at or a potential listing to look at, we produce one of these. There's also a separate report, a 2-page front and back, which is a local market analysis report, which I'll talk you through as well. So I wanted to give you some props to have a look at and take away and have a look at. We won't go into a huge amount of detail. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of time building that system, that valuation system, so it's very quicker and easier to do the level of diligence and produce this report. But effectively, I don't know if you knew what we produce for a bank client or a developer client when they ask us to look at a repossession or a part exchange. We do one of these reports every single time on every single property. Your offices and branches do a very important job and provide us with a lot of the information that goes into there. Photos, very important. I'm sure a lot of them will complain about the fact that we ask them to go back out to get certain photos. Very important. I hope you can see that, what we need from agents to go into a quality output is really important. We can't cut corners. We can't send valuations over that don't have any photos because we forgot to take them, because it just doesn't look professional. And when we're in a war with people offering lower prices, we can't afford to be in that situation. Local market analysis tools that we use on individual properties that aren't selling, on market, etc. when we take on stock. And now what we're looking at is taking more of these tools and sort of automating them to make it, make our people better, I suppose, at reselling the properties. We've also got something around portfolios. And we've got, which is a way of showing a lender, if you've got 100 properties that are currently on the market with us under repossession, what does it look like? How many of them are selling? Are they overpriced? Are they underpriced? Same with developers, looking at across a portfolio of properties. And we've worked on some retrawl automation tools as well to find properties and to track properties in the marketplace. And I'll talk to you briefly about those. Okay, so the valuation report that you've got, what was the point of it? What was the intended use? Really, it was about us winning more business. So this is the only physical thing we produce for our corporate clients. We send them one of these every time. We email them, in truth. We do print some and send them out to certain of our industries, like the retirement sector, like to have them in hard copy, but we email these out. So this is massively important to us, because when we say, if you work with Move Us, this is what you'll get, we can physically show them this every single time you do a valuation. It shows a level of diligence. It shows a clarity. It's there to help us win corporate business. If you look at our valuation report compared to what would be supplied by a corporate, it's miles apart. It's miles apart. We've got to keep that USP. It's very important to us. So the quality of what goes into it is also very important. It's also there to help us in things like part exchange to drive our conversion rates. So, if a developer sends us a valuation request, that's not a done deal. Our job together actually is to provide a valuation that proves to a customer that they're going to get a fair deal through part exchange. So being in a transparent format that's easy to understand, that really uses comparables, hard facts in the marketplace, drives conversion rate, and that's what that's done. And if we're going to win more developer work, we want to tell them we can help them sell more houses through part exchange. How do we do that? Well, we've got to get a better conversion rate for them to sale without the easy way of doing that, which is paying too much money. And then, we've taken on a client recently in Barrett who lost £1 million in part exchange in 1 year. So the easiest way to convert deals is to overpay for part exchange, but it's also the quickest route out the door if you're an asset manager. Okay, so what does it do? It provides transparency, etc. It's positively written. We take your comments, which are often very truthful, but this room smells like dogs, put into a valuation report and put in front of a developer client who they want to do a part exchange deal with probably isn't the way to do it. So our team filter what you tell us and put it into positive wording. We don't want you to change what you tell us. We want the truth. But we've got a job to then filter that and present it in a slightly different way, if that makes sense, and present it professionally. And get a load of market facts, because actually agent opinion is a very difficult thing to convert, because if one agent's saying 150 and one agent's saying 130, what's the answer? What's the price? And what we try and do is say, well, look, let's look at the facts. What's sold? How does your property compare to those properties? Because it's much easier to say, you can't argue with next door being selling for 140 grand and yours being exactly the same other than your conservatory. So how much is a conservatory worth? That's, in a nutshell, I suppose, how we're looking to move to valuation. So what's in there? We've got local market conditions. This is the stuff we do. We go off and get the local market. We look at sales ratios, average days to sell. Basically, what does the market look like for a 3-bedroom semi? What's the high price, the low price, the average pricing, managing the expectations of clients or showing our corporate clients that we effectively know that market. Okay, enhanced photos. If you look at the pages of photos, this is why it's so important why we bang on about getting photos all the time. But basically, developers buy part exchanges blind. That's crazy to say, but they'll put 200 grand into a part exchange property having never visited it. They'll have a survey done on it before they purchase it, but when they fix the price, they haven't gone out there. You are our eyes and ears. We are their eyes and ears. That's why we have mandatory photos. We don't use Street View from Google. We need you guys to take us. Yesterday, when we went out, this is what it looked like to the left of the property. This is what it looked like to the right of the property. This is what's behind it. Because if you're going to buy it, you want to know that they're not building a new Tesco Express next door, or a garage, or whatever it is, a new development. So we've worked really hard to actually beef this up. Not using marketing photos. Marketing photos, if you're going to spend 200 grand on a part exchange, is a real risk. It's a huge risk. That's still what our competitors do. We've recognised that and needed to change, and obviously we need to bring the supply along with us. This is what I was talking about, comparisons. This is how we really sell valuations now. We take hopefully similar properties. We do it 3 times with sold properties, 3 times with on markets. You guys do this in the private market. You go out and say, look, I brought you some comparables to have a look at, right? Let's have a look at trying to price your property. We just try and do it in really sort of minutiae detail. Let's look at all the factors that will affect value. Let's look at your property, let's look at this comparable property, and let's try and draw a conclusion from that. And let's do it a few times, and you'll see that on the tables with the pluses and minuses in there. Really, we're trying to move forward and provide the best possible valuation report on the market. That's I think what we've done, and I think most of our clients probably recognise that is what we've done, and that's helped us maintain our market share, win new business, and keep our fees high. But it's an interesting product. And we now have a system which effectively, we've got a very large valuations team sitting back in the office. A lot of this comes in automatically, drag and drop photos and produce a really nice looking report which helps with conversion rate. Is that something that a version of estate agents could use when winning listings, I suppose is the next question. Okay, what you've got here is a local market analysis report. We use this with trickier valuations. We use this as a desktop valuation tool. And we use this when we're assessing properties that haven't sold. What's on the market? What are the average prices? And really what that does, you get a table showing you everything that's on the market. You can select, again, we've spent a lot of time and effort building a system, selecting property types, number of bedrooms, radius from a certain postcode. There's some screenshots of the system. Go out and tell me about 3-bedroom semis. I want to know everything that's on the market within the area that I'm competing in, whether that's 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. Tell me what the highest price is, tell me what the lowest price is. Give me the ability to click through and have a look at that competition. Where does mine sit against it is what I'm asking for. But ultimately, we've got to look at this and know that market inside out. Before we even talk about a 3-bedroom, that particular 3-bedroom semi, we need to know the market for 3-bedroom semis, which is what this does. And a table showing us sales ratios of these properties selling quickly, how long is it to sell on average, and then where do they sit? That scatter graph, it might look a bit complicated, but it basically shows you every single property on the market, where it sits at price and how long it's been on the market for. So what's selling, what's lingering, a higher priced property, the overpriced property, the stuff that's well over average from a days to sell perspective. Which is this graph here. You split it into quadrants, and quite frankly, when we're talking to corporate clients, what we use this for is we say, well, the last thing you want to do is make a price reduction. But when you need to make a price reduction, you need to make a price reduction. And their question then is, well, when do I need to consider a price reduction? Because I don't want to do it at, say, 30 days, if actually the average time to sell a property in this area for 3 beds is 90 days. We're not going to win any friends by asking for a price reduction too early. We've got to be able to justify this. Again, this is what my team do. We get information from the agents, we get this information, and they say, right, we do need a price reduction because, and really what we've got to show them is, we're now past the average days on market, or past the average days to sell, and we look a bit overpriced in this market. And actually, when we did the valuation, and we can show them the original graphs on valuations and show them now, things have changed. And most people are rational, so most people will say, you know what, if there is now a load of new competition, I need to react to that. I hope that makes sense. And then we do the same for, on the back, we've got sold. The difference between on market and sold. What's selling? Is it the stuff that's at £140,000 that's selling and the stuff that's on at £150,000 that isn't selling? That's the difference between the on-market and the STC. But effectively demonstrating where we sit in the marketplace when you're a property on the market that isn't sold, and working out whether or not, on average, it looks like you're a bit overpriced or not. As I understand it, probably the most difficult conversation you can have as estate agents with a private vendor is you need to do a price reduction, but can you do that price reduction with me and not go to one of my competitors? You know, I haven't failed you, but we do need to cut your price now. We're not going to get perhaps what I told you we were going to. Now, that's a difficult conversation, I'm sure, at any time. But if you can show them something that shows them that the marketplace has moved, to show them that when we put your house on the market, this was probably the right asking price, but now we need to take it down because you've got a lot more competition. I can show you it. The stuff that's selling is slightly cheaper than yours. We might need to look at getting into that price range if we want that same result. Possibly not in this format, but you know, can we use these sort of tools to show we're market experts? You know, could you present a version of this report when you go out to do a valuation to show that you're an expert in that marketplace? To show we really know 3-bedroom semis. If you're going to sell one, you're going to want to sell through us. Because look, I can show you average prices, I can show you what's on the market at the moment, I can show you what's priced too high and what the right slot is for pricing properties if you want to sell them, because I can show you the average price of sold properties is actually lower than those on the market. I can manage your expectations in how long it's going to take you to sell. What we're now looking to do is actually then automate that information to give our property sellers, who are working very closely with your negotiators, more information delivered to their computers, to their desktops, about the properties that are on the market that aren't sold. So what do I mean about that? Well, basically, when a property comes new to the market that competes with yours, you probably want to know about it. So if you're selling a 3-bedroom semi-detached on a certain road and another one comes on the market, you want to know about it. Now, you do this, you keep a track on the market, you'll go on Rightmove, you'll do all those things. This is about automating that, making sure it gets done. And it flags it up and says, we've got more competition, we need to go and have a look at it. It also tells us that the properties that we're currently competing with, whether they sell, whether they have a price reduction, because you need to know those things, because you need to be on it effectively. We certainly do for our corporate clients. You know, if 2 new properties come on the market and they both undercut ours, it's unlikely that ours is now going to sell before those 2 sell. So our corporate clients have got a choice. Do you wait and hope that they sell and then they go away and then we look at this again? Or if you need to get a sale in a certain time, we need to probably react with our pricing to what's happened. So we're already getting that data for all these other reports. We may as well use it slightly differently and ultimately deliver it efficiently to desktops, if that makes sense. Again, could your negotiators use that? You know, they probably already find that information out. It's probably about getting it delivered smarter, quicker. Probably what it looks like at the moment as we're putting it through testing. But basically, how many on the market? Has it got tougher or better? As I said, have we got more competition now or less? Are those properties that were overpriced, have they now had price reductions? And that system delivers weekly to our desktop on all properties that haven't sold, just to keep us on top of the marketplace. Portfolio dynamics is how we use historic sales trends to identify likely overpriced problem properties. Again, this is how we show a lender or a developer their whole portfolio. I'll flick through this very quickly because I'm running out of time, but basically that's 6 months worth of a client's property sales. What it tells you, if the longer it's been on the market, the less money you're going to get for it. Believe it or not, you can actually then get an equation that predicts how long a property's been on the market, what you're likely to get for it, on average, based on the original valuation we gave them. We then age profile their stock. We show them, you know, the stuff in green's good. It's young, if you like. It's newer to the market. The more you've got in the red, the worse. We have sales rates for each of the different age profiles of their stock. And we put this stuff together and basically say, let's have a snapshot of all your properties. We know what your trend looks like. It's your historic trend for your area, for your property types. But ultimately, Mr. Developer, if you've got a property that's on the market for 6 months and you haven't moved the asking price, based on your trend, we know that's overpriced. And it goes through a calculation and gives them a difference between what they're currently chasing and what probably that property is valued for. These are just tools that the top level of our clients, sales directors, developers, and portfolio managers at lenders get from us. And then the final piece is opportunity redraw, which basically very similar, but all the properties that we value that we then don't get instructed on, particularly on part exchange, but sometimes on probate, we've got a bit of kit that basically says, now we've valued it and we've got the information on it, we can keep an eye on those properties to see if they come up in the marketplace at any time. You know, rather than retrawling through, and you'll all do this yourselves, you'll have your hit lists, the properties you've valued and you're looking for and waiting to come up, but again, you're probably trawling through Rightmove, you should be doing it. When you're busy, is that stuff getting done? Again, automating that, making sure it's happening, flagging up properties and saying, this looks like the one you valued. I think we've got something like 1,000 or so properties at any one time from our developer base that are sitting there that we weren't instructed on, that didn't do the part exchange deal. You know, once that goes on the market, we want to know about it, because actually if it's overpriced, we want to know that maybe in 3 months' time we want to go back and say to them, that PX deal's still on the table. Or maybe if they go on the market marginally above what they were being offered, we go back to the developer and tell them, you looked like you were in a couple of grand of making a PX deal work here. We'd rather than buy the home, get the PX deal back and get it sold on the market rather than it sitting there overpriced.